Okay. So we're gonna do our demo review here. So I'm gonna have you guys follow along with me. We're gonna use Blue Books as well as go through the virtual demo here. Okay. So just give me 1 second while I get my screen or my desk set up here. Okay. So so now we're entering our final demo review. Um, Evan, can you help Evan get to where we're at on the practice demo? But we're gonna do our final demo review. So I'm gonna review how to do an in-person appointment, but I'm gonna be moving along on the virtual appointment on here. Okay. So first thing, let's start with just like etiquette. When you're doing your appointments in person, there's a couple little things that you just want to be mindful of before the appointment even starts, right? Like when you get to a customer's house, like don't park your car in their driveway, right? Because that just like shows like you own the place or something like that. But also too, you want to be thinking a couple steps ahead. What if someone needs to get something out of the garage or park there? You don't want anything to interrupt your appointment per se. So like I would always park across the street or on the sidewalk. Don't walk through people's grass. For some people, they don't care. Others, it's like a sign of disrespect, right? Like my dad was one of those guys that used to like his blonde to look a certain way, and he would always get like annoyed when my friends would like come just walk through the grass and ride their bikes through the grass, So you don't want to do anything to piss off your customer before you even start the presentation. When you get to the doorbell, I would always like knock first, right? Don't bang on it like you're the cops, just like the knock, something like that. The reason why you want to knock first is now like right now I have a newborn baby, and when you get that baby down for a nap, the last thing you want is like somebody to come and like ring the doorbell. Like sometimes that can set off customers like you woke up the baby, or some people have pets, right? That get all riled up when they hear the doorbell. So you don't want like the first 10-15 minutes of your interaction with the customer, them trying to calm down their dog and all that kind of stuff. So that's just a mindful thing. But like obviously if you knock and they don't hear it, then ring the doorbell. Okay. When you enter the home, always offer to remove your shoes, right? Even if they say, oh, no, it's okay. But if you see a pile of shoes next to the door, what should you do?
Remove your shoes.
Yeah, just remove the shoes, right? Remove your shoes. So now thinking a step ahead, make sure you got clean socks on and, no holes in your socks and all that great stuff. So just be mindful of those little things. Okay. Now go ahead and open up to page 1 in your paper manuals here. Okay. So page 1 in your paper manuals, remember we were talking about some of these tips, right? Best place to do your demo is where, you guys? Where's the best place in the house to do it? The kitchen, right? That's where all the cooking's gonna happen. You don't want to do it in the living room, right? Living room has a lot of distractions, right? That's usually where people lounge around. Also, what's the big distraction in the living room? The TV. So you don't want them looking at the preseason football games and baseball while you're presenting. You want to make sure they're fully engaged. Always bring some food to cut. So at a minimum, you want to make sure you bring tomatoes or grapes, right? Because they're soft, they're squishy, they're not easy to cut through with normal knives. Cutco really shines right there. You guys got a chance to cut up some apples today, right? You saw it was like awesome. Like you could do the same thing with your sample kit. Just drag it through it and let your customers just drag the knife through the apple. It looks incredible. Make sure you do all your cutting on the cutting board. And then for your best prospects, go find a pineapple. When they cut through a pineapple, there's no way they're not going to buy a set of Cutco. Okay. So now when we build a rapport, all right, I don't open my blue book. I don't pull out any knives until I feel like we've made a connection with the customer. So the goal of building rapport is ask a lot of questions until you feel like you and the customer have connected at some point, or you can tell the customer's comfortable. I would never start a presentation if my customer is like this. What does that show? It shows that they're not like comfortable yet, right? So I would just keep talking, keep asking questions, and actually be genuinely curious about them. Think about like when you are trying to connect with somebody, like make a new friend, or guys, when you're trying to talk to a lady, right? Think about like you're like, all right, I'm trying to like connect with them. So that's how you should almost treat your customers and talk to your customers. Like be interested and try to get to know them. The more you get to know about them, the more they're going to want to get to know about you. So it's usually reciprocal. So once you spent about 5 to 10 minutes, it's like, oh, okay, Mrs. Jones. So hey, thank you again. Let's go ahead and get started here. All right. So now on the next page, you guys made your profiles yesterday, right? So this is where you'll get a chance to share about your goals and what you're working towards, right? In person here, I'll give you guys some of these goal thermometers. Right, it's good to put your fast start goal on a little thermometer. You can write like whatever your goal is, 10,000, 5,000, 4,000, right? And then have little milestones. So every time you make a sale, you color it in, and then you have your customers sign with them. All right. So share your goals with your customers, share what you're working towards in your Fast Start contest. And you can also talk about the President's Club letter. So you guys can earn a letter of recommendation from the CEO. Also, you can win a scholarship based off of your performance while you're working with the company. What's going on?
How do I set up a practice one?
Yeah, click on practice demo, top right corner.
Okay.
Voila. All right. All right. So now let's keep moving. Okay. So now I'm on page 4. All right. Now I'm on page 4. And this is where we download the app with the customers. All right. So this is going to be the My Cutco Rep app. This app your customers can find in their app store. Okay. So you just have them download the app. And you're just going to read in your manual. As I mentioned, it allows for a manager to get some simple feedback from you and me on my presentation, and it also eliminates all the paperwork to make everything easier. All right, so you have them download the app before you get started with your presentation in person. Now, here's the thing: there are some people that aren't app friendly, right? Usually, our older customers that didn't grow up in the world with apps. Right, your parents probably use apps all the time. Like nowadays, you need an app for everything. I try to call in to order a smoothie ahead of time so I could just pick it up, and they're like, if you download our app, you can order your smoothie there. I'm like, can I just tell you and come pay for it when I get there? And they're like, no, you got to download the app. Right. So like almost everywhere you need an app. So it's not uncommon for people to like, they're like, oh yeah, I'll download the app. Now, when you're doing a virtual demo, you can click on the QR code. So whatever picture you guys click on, your customers will be able to see on their side of things. Okay. So I'll show you, for example, here. This is what the email looks like when your customers receive the link for a virtual demo. All right. So they get this link. It's going to be from Cutco Service. Then there's going to be a link to your direct presentation for them. All they do is click it, and then they click join presentation. All right. So since on this slide, I'm on the QR code, if I click the video, and then we go back to the customer slide, they'll see the video. So whatever I click on is what my customers are going to see. They don't see all these notes or anything like that. Now, when you click play on the video, it also plays it for your customer. It might glitch up a little bit because I'm using the same browser.
Hi there. My name is Mike Monroe, and I'm a manager at Vector.
Yeah, so it's glitching a little bit right there, but you guys get the gist, right? So
we're the ones.
So great. So you have your customers download the app. If they don't download the app, or it's taking too long, or they're having trouble with their phone, don't waste too much time on this. You can have them downloaded at the end. Okay. Last thing on the app, let me come back here. This is the number one question I get asked on people's first appointments. John, where do I find my meeting code? Because there's going to be a login for your customer, so you get credit for this demo. So does everybody see this in the top right corner where it says rep number and meeting number? It's going to be right there on the page of the app. All right. So none of you guys better call me and be like, John, what's my meeting number? It's right here. Okay. So every presentation will have a different meeting number. Great. Everybody with me?
Yeah, so the rep number, would that be the same?
Yeah, your rep number will always be the same. All right. Okay, great. So now this is where the demo truly begins. You're still going to be right here just on this beginning page as we're getting started. Okay. So now I'm going to start moving a little bit quicker because this is just all review from yesterday and what we covered today. So this is the Cutco is awesome page. So you let them know, hey, like I said on the phone, you don't have to get anything, but keep a lookout. If you do see something that you like for you or for gifts, you can get the best deal today. And not only would you be getting a great product, you'd also be helping me out towards my goals. All right. So this is where you let them know, like you remind them you don't have to buy, but if you see something you like, it helps me out if you get it today. I would not try to emphasize like, hey, just so you know, you don't have to buy anything, right? Because our goal is to what? Sell some Cutco, right? So it's like, hey, you don't have to buy, but if you find something that you like, it helps me a ton for my contest if you got it today. Okay. Now let's move on to page 5 in the paper manual. All right. This is the company page. All right. So now this is where we talk about Cutco, the company. And Cutco is made in America. Let me tell you a little bit about the company. Since 1949, Cutco knives have been made in the United States in our factory in Olean. Everyone say that?
Olean.
Yeah.
Olean, New York, and we sell over 300 million worth of product. Did everybody fill that in yesterday? The 300 million. This is also where we're going to mention K-bar knives, right, which are used both by the military and law enforcement agents. Okay. Now we get over here to the product quality section. Now this is where we're going to cut the penny with our shears. So after I'm done with our review and show you how to put orders, I'll teach you guys how to cut pennies. So this is where you're going to cut the penny for your customer. So you pull out the first item in your sample kit. Leave all your knives in the sample kit. You don't want to have all the knives spread out because it's a distraction for your customer. So you just want to pull them out as you get to that piece. So pull out the shears. Always keep a spare penny with you, but I always ask my customers to give me the penny. Do you guys understand why I do that?
It's to connect with them.
Most people are a little skeptical, right? You know, most people are like,
I think you have a fake.
yeah,
penny.
they're gonna be
Okay.
like, so it's there's no way of faking it when you use their penny, right? So most people don't care, but you're like, hey, no worries, I brought one for you, right? And then I cut the penny, and then I always hand the penny to the customers. Don't let the customers try to cut the penny because there's a technique with it, right? So you don't want them like distracted with that. It's just like I hand them the penny. I'm like, yeah, check that out. Right now, you want to get excited when you cut the penny for them. You're like, yeah, isn't that awesome? Isn't that amazing? I say Cutco baby a lot, which you guys have heard me say probably several times throughout training, right? So I just get excited with the customers. You're going to cut through lots of pennies, but every time you want to get excited because that's your customer's first time doing that. Now, if you're doing a virtual demo, you're going to play the video of the penny getting cut. And you should talk over the videos, right? Describe what's going on. So it's like, Mrs. Jones, these are our shears. And what we're cutting right now is a penny. Check this out. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? The shears are great for cutting through all different things in the house. Right there, we're cutting through some leather. Then we're going to cut through some cardboard. They also come apart for easy cleaning. They're made for right-handed and left-handed people. Cutco is incredible. All right. Then we're going to do the veggie peeler. All right. So some of you guys will have veggie peelers in your kit. You want a veggie peeler yesterday. So Davian, I would definitely bring a carrot so that way you can peel some carrots with the customers, all that fun stuff right there. So if you're just doing your regular appointment, you don't need to mention the peeler right here. But if you have a peeler, it's like, hey, I also want to show you our veggie peeler. Check this out, right? And it gets started. All right, the next thing here is our junk knife section. So now let's go ahead and switch to the next page in the blue book. And then now we are on top of page 6 in your paper manuals. So the goal of this page is to make sure your customers understand the cost of having cheap knives, right? Because you have to replace them over and over again. Cheap knives have a lot of problems because wooden handles, they absorb all that moisture, the bacteria. They're disgusting. It's like a sponge you can never squeeze out. Plastic handles are just made very cheaply. They fall apart. They break very easy, and you have to replace them over and over, and they don't even work. So imagine just using junk for the rest of your life over and over and over again. Now let me show you how Cutco has solved all these problems. Okay, so now we are on page 7 at the features and benefits. And then we are going to be pulling out our first knife for the customers to use, which is going to be the Petite Carver. So the Petite Carver, this is your biggest one in your sample kit. Also, this is where you're going to have your customers cut some rope. All right, this is where you're going to have your customers do the rope cutting demonstration. So just like how you guys did yesterday in training, you're going to do that with your customer. Okay. So when you guys do the rope cutting, I know Lauren showed you guys, but just as a reminder, you want to have the customers pull out some of their knives to cut through it. So a straight edge knife and a knife with teeth, a serrated edge. And then you'll use the Cutco one. So your instructions that you give with the knife are important. So you want to hold the knife tight. And then also you kind of want to like spin, twist. That's the word I'm looking for. Kind of want to twist the rope to make sure the rope is tight. Because if you let it loose, you see it, the rope will start to twist apart one way. You always want to twist it the opposite way so it's tighter and it gets a better cut with all the edges. Okay. So with a serrated edge, it's going to rip up and shred apart. Straight edge, it might take them a while to get through. Right? Did anybody struggle cutting with the straight edge knife? Right. So like if you look at the straight edge knife right here, right? You really got to put some force onto it, but it cuts through, leaves a nice clean cut. And then with the Cutco Petite Carver, again, instructions are important. Start from the back of the blade, push down, pull one long swipe towards you. All right. It's Cutco, baby. All right. So it should cut through, depending on like how much force they put on the knife, should cut through in one clean swipe. I like to have the husbands cut through the rope because husbands are always trying to muscle everything. They want to show how strong they are. Ugh. And then I usually have the wives cut through the leather, right? Because the leather is like they barely have to touch it, and it's just like, and they're just like, oh my goodness. They have the best reactions too. They're just like, oh my gosh, so amazing. Okay, so that's how you do the rope cutting. When you hold the rope, keep your fingers pointed straight down. Don't hold it like this and get your fingers all up in the way, and give yourself enough room. Okay. All right. And if you have questions on that, what should you do? Call. All right. Good. All right. Forever guarantee. Let me see if let me get caught up right here. On the virtual demo, all right, there's a video that explains the features and benefits. And then there's a video for the rope and leather cutting as well. You just play the video. Okay. Forever guarantee. This is where people really get sold on Cutco. So at this point of the demo, your customers should be pretty interested. You cut a penny, veggie peeler, cut some rope, and then now they just heard about this guarantee where they buy these knives once, they're going to use them every day for the rest of their lives, and they never have to replace them. Now they're going to be like, okay, this is too good. How much is this going to cost? All right. So now we go through the names and uses. Okay, so when we're going through the names and uses, we're going to explain each piece in the homemaker set. Okay, so now we are on page 9 in your paper manual. And then I'm on page 8 and 9 in your blue book. You can just also look up here. So every tool, so you'll see in the paper manual, it says play video. Obviously, if you're doing it in person, you're not going to be playing a video. Okay. So you'll just kind of explain it. This is a repairing knife for the air, excuse me, trimmer for small stuff. So the trimmer is in your sample kit. Okay. So the trimmer is your medium-sized knife in your sample kit. This is the one that we used on the tomato yesterday. Okay. So this is the one that we used on the tomato yesterday. Then this is where I would cut your tomato, your grapes, and have fun. If your customers want to cut other things, they're more than welcome to. But just have fun with it. One little trick I used to do with customers, I would be like, all right, I'm really good at this. Even if you're not, just like, I'm really good at this. Watch this out. Watch this, Mrs. Jones. Take the tomato, and then I miss it. And I'm like, do you see that? It was so thin, you can't even see it. Okay. So like you should be having fun on your appointments, use little corny jokes, just be yourself, have a good time with your customers. All right. And every time I'm talking about a piece of Cutco, I want to hand that piece of Cutco to my customers. I want them to feel it. I want them to look at the quality of it because people can tell what quality is. Like, could you guys tell, like, once you started using the knives and holding them, you're like, oh, this stuff's nice. Right. And you could tell if it was like some cheap crap here, you know. So let your customers hold it. The more they feel Cutco, the better. So you go through all the names and uses. All right. Should take pretty quick. The petite carver. Here, let me go ahead and put a star next to the trimmer. Just so that way, as you guys are still learning all the pieces, you know which ones that you actually have. So star next to the trimmer, a star next to the petite carver on page 10. And then we're going to go to page 11 on the bottom, and you're going to put a star next to the table knife. Now, in the virtual demo, since you're doing it virtually and your customers don't get a chance to hold and feel all the products, there's a little bit of value lost right there. So the way that we make up with more value in the virtual demos is we have videos. We have more videos of everything. So that is like one of the perks of the virtual demo. So there's a video of them cutting a tomato, right? And you're like, ooh, look how smooth that is, right? And then it has like different professional photos of everything. So that way the customers can get a better feel and experience since they're not holding anything. Okay. So let's keep going. So now when we get to the table knife, this is where we're going to cut some leather. All right. In the virtual demo, you would just play the video. In your actual presentations, you guys are going to hold the leather for your customers. And then they're going to use their favorite steak knife that they have in their kitchen. And they're going to cut through the leather. Some steak knives cut through better than others, but most of them are going to kind of like catch, you know, there's going to be like a rough cut. They're going to rip and tear. And then when you use the table knife, it's just going to cut through smooth. And then to show off a little bit, I'm like, all right, now I'm going to double up the leather for you. Go ahead and cut it again. And it should cut through and pretty clean. Okay. Any questions on names and uses or anything like that? All right. Now, what if a customer asks you a question that you don't know how to handle? What if they're like, Esther, what's the point of a butcher knife? Why do I need that instead of this? Can't they do the same thing? Here's how you should respond. Hey, that's a great question. I'm brand new. I'm still learning the pieces, but you know, let me call my manager and I can get you a better explanation on it. Right? Or you can read like all the little descriptions right here. But it's just like, Mrs. Jones, company's been around for 70 years. It's our most popular set for a reason. You know, it has all the tools you'll need.
Right.
But you will have some people that think like that, right? Because they never been educated on knives before. So just like, hey, that's a great question. If you really want to know, I can get a better answer for you, but I'm still new, I'm still learning. So just blame everything because you're new. Okay. And by the way, you guys, I did that for my first year on the job. Right. I would just like make mistakes sometimes. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm brand new. You know, they don't know. Right. And it's like, just remember your customers, like the manual is here But like if you skipped a paragraph on accident, don't be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Mrs. Jones. Let me go back." They don't know what you're supposed to say, right? So just keep going. Make up for it later on, but just have fun. That's the most important thing, right there. Okay. So now we're gonna skip ahead over here to page 14. So we summarize everything. Then we're gonna skip ahead to page 14, and this is where we do the Wusthof and Shun price comparison. So we talk about Wusthof and Shun. The goal of this section is to continue to help build value because most people haven't shopped or priced high quality knives before. So it's like, hey, these are how much the top brands and stores will cost you, right? So now this gives your customer the first hint of the price. Sometimes customers will ask for price earlier. They might say like, hey, like how much is that set or how much is that knife? Just say, hey, I don't want to spoil the end of the movie. I'll go over all the prices at the end. So you never want to go over the prices too soon because sometimes they'll turn your customer off of the sale because not enough value has been built. Okay. So just tell them it's like, oh, we'll get to all the prices at the end. All right. And then just start reading again. One thing that you also want to be mindful of is with your blue book, don't give it to your customers too soon. Because if you hand over your blue book, what might a customer start doing? Flipping through, right? You're going to be reading on page 14, and the next thing you know, they're going to be like, oh, honey, look it. They have garden stuff, right? How much is this, right? And then they'll kind of take over and it throws you off a little bit. So I always hold my blue book. So it's like you can do it like how I was showing you guys earlier. But then if it's like still like a little awkward and you're like, I don't really like that, you see how I've been presenting it with you guys. And you can just have your manual out there. You can read it and then just flip to the pages for your customer. So whatever's comfortable for you. There's no right or wrong way to do it as long as they can see what you're talking about and you are giving correct info. Okay. All right. So Wusthof and Shun price comparison. They should be hearing the prices in their head. They should be thinking like, oh my gosh, if these knives cost this much, how much is Cutco going to be? It's a good sign if your customers aren't fazed by the price. And they're just like, okay, that makes sense. You're probably going to sell a homemaker, signature, or an ultimate set. Now, if you have a customer who be like, oh god damn, you might have some people that react crazy. They're going to be excited when they see that Cutco isn't as much, but you never know what they're going to do. So just don't be fazed by any reaction that you get because you'll be surprised what customers respond. You just want to stay even keel. I remember I had a customer that was just like freaking out about the prices, and he's like, "You want me to spend $2,000 on knives? I got bills to pay." And he literally like opened up his drawer and he's like, "I got a bill for this. I got a bill for this." And he just started showing me all his bills. I was like, I just sat there, smiled, I nodded, and I was like, "So you want to get it?" And then he was like, "Yeah." Right. So it's like there's some people that react, but that's not their like real like emotion. Like there's just people that have those crazy personalities. All right. So now when we start to present the price of Cutco, so this is the only time you're gonna go backwards, just one page. So that way they can see the homemaker sets and the freebies that they can get with the sets. Okay. So when we present the price of Wusthof and Shun, you can say $3,015 or $77. When we say Cutco's price, it's only $1,715. Now, when you're doing it in person, you should write down the prices. All right, you should write down the prices for your customers. Have any of you guys ever been into like a jewelry store or car dealership? And when they give you the price, they're always like, "Oh, come over here," and then they write it down for you, and then they slide the paper to them, right? So anytime you talk about high quality stuff or things with a more like pricier tag, you should always write it down because customers are going to process that and they're going to think about it a couple different ways. Okay. And sometimes customers don't want to be rude and keep asking you for the price over and over again. And you guys will appreciate it too, where you're like, "I just told you the price, lady." Right. So it's like when you write it down, they can look at it. But also, you guys notice when we started dropping down, what also might a customer start to do? They might start to compare the prices, right? They're like, oh, for only what is that, like a few dollars more, like $20 more a month, I can get the galley set. So sometimes you might drop down and they might be like, you know what? Instead of the basic essentials, I'm just gonna get the basic galley just because I get the slicer in there, right? Or sometimes they get right here, they're like, yeah, we might as well get the table knives. We're gonna buy them later anyways, right? Have you guys ever done that while you're shopping? Like you're saying you're gonna get something small, and then you're like, I might as well just get it. I'm here, right? So that happens too sometimes for sure. Okay. Now, 1715 when you present the homemaker, or 347, don't say $1,715. Now, let me show you guys how to place an order. Okay. So let me show you guys how to place an order. So let's say the customer wants to get a homemaker set. You're gonna go, congratulations. While I write that up, let's look at accessories. So I would just flip to the accessories booklet for them, hand that over to my customer while I start entering it in their order. So there's 3 ways you can submit an order. Okay. When you're on a page right here, you'll see it says view products for wish list. So if you click on that, it'll show you whatever's on that page for a virtual demo. And then you can just add it to the wish list. Now, there's also going to be a search bar on your virtual appointments. And you can just type in anything. Just type in home, and you'll see the homemaker pops up. Now, click on the picture of the homemaker set. And then you can customize it. If they wanted a bigger chef knife, they can add that. If they wanted a different color, they can add red. They wanted a different colored block, they can change it to the cherry block. And then you just hit add to cart. And then if you're in person, this will be in an app. So that'll be the last app I have you guys download, is the Cutco Orders app. And if you go to the shop, so go to your menu and then go to the shop on your Cutco Orders app. It will look like this. You hear Jordan over there? She's doing a demo right now. About to sell some stuff. Okay. So see, this is what the Cutco Orders app looks like. So you can just go right there. You can use the search bar still, search for anything, but then everything's in categories in the shop. You can see the whole catalog. Okay. So for your first weekend, every order that you guys get, just call me, because I'm going to walk you guys through it, double check your work. And please just call. It takes like 2 seconds. We just had this happen last week. A new rep started, they got their first sale, they was like, I got it. They did it on their own, and then the customer received their knives like 2 days ago, and there was all the wrong color. He forgot to add the free item, right? So then we have to fix the order. Customer has to ship back the pieces, and then we have to reship it. Like, it's just a whole process. So your first weekend, I'll remind you, I'll ask you questions like, all right, did you ask her for the color? Did you mark the free stuff on there? Okay, good. Right. So I'll be here to kind of hold your hand this weekend, and then I'll kick you out of the house and be like, all right, you're on your own. All right. Okay, so let's walk through putting in a homemaker order. So however you want to add it, you're gonna hit add to cart. Okay. Now let me show you how to add something for free. All right, so type in she, which is a abbreviation for the shears. All right, the shears will pop up. I'm just gonna add the shears to my cart. Okay. Now, does everybody see these 3 little dots next to the shears, to the right of the shears?
Yeah.
Go ahead and click on those, and you'll see bonus. That's how you give the shears for free. let's say the customer wanted to add on an extra pair, you can hit copy and it'll duplicate it. Then they change their mind that you can hit delete. And then there's also an engraving button. So we're just gonna hit bonus.
Kicks it down to 0.
Boom. All right. Now, if you guys look up here, you guys will see a little thumbs up, a green thumbs up. If you guys click on that, this is how you guys can give free stuff. So this is how you manage the free stuff that you give for a customer. So if it's in the green, you guys can give it for free. So let's say you call me and I don't answer because I'm dealing with my kids or something, and you're like, oh crap, no one's answering me. Let me see if I can give something for free still. If it's in the green, you're good. You don't even need my permission. Okay. If it's in the orange, you just got to call the office for manager approval. And then what do you guys think the red means? You can't do it. Okay. Now, for friends and family in your first weekend, there's going to be some deals like when your parents buy something, we're probably going to give them something and it's going to be in the red because it's your mom or it's your dad or whoever, right? So we're going to hook up some people for your first weekend. So I'll approve some things I wouldn't normally, but yeah, so that's how you do that. Yes.
So like the more like that's like your bonus things. Like if you like give someone a free pair of scissors, it'll go more towards red.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry.
That's why we're all like green right now.
Yep. So the more stuff you give, and then also something to be aware of. You see right here where it says value. So this is how much the cart is worth. So if your customers bought everything individually or they bought it online from Cutco.com, this is the price they would pay. Right? We brought it down to $17.15. The value is also including the shears. Now the CPO number. This is the number that you guys care about. This is what counts towards your promotions. And then that's where your pay is calculated from, the CPO number. Okay, so that's all that means up there. I'll explain that more in advanced training. You're gonna have questions on it. Just hold off. I'll explain it more in your advanced training process. But just know this is what counts as credit towards promotions. And that's where you'll take your 10, 15, 20% from. Okay. All right, cool. So now go ahead and hit checkout. Go ahead and hit proceed, checkout. Checkout process is pretty simple. You guys have all placed orders online before. Where it says customer type, it's going to be new customer unless they've already bought Cutco. Marketing method will be demo. All right, for billing address, this is whatever matches their card. Shipping address is where they want the products delivered. And if it's the same, you can choose the same. But the billing address is really important. If it's an address that doesn't match the card that they're going to pay with, it'll get flagged by the company, and then your customer will have to call the company to fix it. So just make sure you get the correct billing address, and then they can ship it wherever they want. All right, let's click next. Okay, payment methods, or let's start with shipping. Shipping is included in the price. So it's regular ground shipping. It takes 5 to 10 business days for your customers to receive their stuff. So when I say business days, we're not including weekends. So let's say someone purchases something tonight, it won't get shipped out to them until Monday. Right. So if they paid for extra shipping, just be mindful of that. Right. 2-day, next day shipping, it automatically calculates what that price will be. It's all by weight and whatever UPS. UPS is where we deliver. We have a partnership with them. So just be mindful of that for the extra days. If they're like, oh, I want it tomorrow, it's like, that's impossible. You know, it's like, it won't ship out until Monday. As soon as I can get it to you, it's a Tuesday. Okay. Now, payment methods, just ask them if they want to pay with credit or debit. So when you get to that point where you need to collect, when you get to this page, it's like, hey, Evans, do you guys want to do credit or debit? All right. And just give them those two choices. People can't pay with cash. Reason why it's a liability thing. Imagine a customer gave you $2,000 in cash. Now you have to go get a money order, and then you have to ship that money order to New York, and all these different things can happen. right? The reason why we don't do cash anymore, I had an incident where a rep took all this cash, was excited, playing music on the freeway, rolled down his windows, forgot he had all the cash. Half of the cash flew out of his window, right? So guess who became responsible for that? That representative. So that's why we don't do cash and mess with it. It's just too many things can go wrong. So credit cards, debit cards, that's all safer. It's all trackable for the customer, all that fun stuff. PayPal, there is a PayPal option for financing. So let's say a customer wanted to buy a lot of stuff. There, you might have this happen where someone wants to just like, you know what, let me buy everything in the book. Do you have extra payments that I can do to keep it small? Yes. So they can apply for financing. It's all done through PayPal. So PayPal offers 6 to 24 month payments, depending on the size of their order. So basically, you just put in their email, they apply through PayPal, and PayPal will approve them in an email. It takes like 5 minutes. And then they'll either give them extra payments or decline them. Okay. But ours, for our payments, there's no credit check, there's no anything. You just click how many payments they want to do right here. All right. There is a one-time admin fee that you'll see at the bottom. That's split up into the 5 payments, but it's just a one-time fee basically for the processing system.
So all of this, we're doing all of this during like a virtual or in person.
This is in the checkout process. Okay. And then we click next. And then it's going to give you like the summary of the order. It's going to show you how much tax. The tax is calculated based off of where their billing address is. It'll add tax on there, and then it's going to show what the first payment is, and it shows all the payments right here, credit or debit. Type in their credit card info. If it's virtual, you just click customers not present. If it's in person, you click signature, hand your phone to your customer sideways, they can sign it, and then you accept the order, and then you hit place order. Now, if you get stuck on something, or your customer has another question, what do we do? Just call the office. Okay. Yes.
So when we have in-person appointments, we don't have to always do it on the computer. We can always do it.
Yeah. So in-person appointments, you just do it all through your phone. All right. Sweet. All right. So, and then at the end of all this, whether your customer buys or doesn't buy, we always ask for referrals, right? And that's where you go to page 27. You're like, all right, Mrs. Jones, how'd you like my demo? Have them answer those final questions about your product knowledge. And then now there's one more very important part. Here's where you can really help me out. And then you go through your approach right there. Cool. All right. So that is the crash course on your demo review. All right. So let me wrap up with some assignments here for you guys. And then before you guys leave, I just got to do raffle, teach you how to cut pennies. I'll get you guys your sample kits and then we'll get out of here. So go ahead and close your manual and then go to that assignments page on the back. Okay.